Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rhoda 360. I dedicate this episode of the podcast to every beautiful woman navigating the complex intersection of academic rigor, corporate ambition, the profound, humbling journey of motherhood, and every other thing that life brings. I am your host, Rhoda Winners. For a long time after I started my program, I felt like my work um, in this case, my research now, wasn't impactful. It was novel, yes. It's still novel, yes. But I felt as though it wasn't going to make so much of an impact. Now, what I didn't understand during that phase was that new things feel sterile at times. They feel new. They feel too new. You cannot understand them. I would go on worrying about how my work may not translate to practice in the future, how I may only bear the title but not work in but maybe work in entirely different role. I mean, I worried that people may even think that my work was not worth it. It didn't take long to remember that I had always been a warrior anyways. Coming along the literature review phase of the PhD, discussing with other researchers in this space, industry people, and um, business people, other stakeholders. I started to understand the value of my work. I started to like let me remove these glasses. I started getting comfortable studying about it. I started knowing what to write because I couldn't even grasp the concept in the first place and context in the beginning. I'm also now comfortable discussing about my work with anybody at all, from the participants or potential participants or users of the product I'm talking about to even children, young children. The reason I share this story is because the feelings evoked by a new research area are a mix of all intellectual stimulation, humility, as you confront the horizon that of what remains unknown. You're looking for what is unknown. You've looked for trouble, right? So you have to also sort out the solution. That's what research is. You'll experience the pain of leaving behind existing ecstasies, also, but also the joy of acquiring new skills and deep um, personal motivation for exploring this uncharted intellectual territory. Now, the American Society for Cell Biology published an article in 2019, and they titled it "How to Enjoy Feeling Stupid After Switching Fields." They explained that moving to a new field forces you to grapple with the vast expanse of what isn't yet understood, creating a profound sense of awe. And at the scale of the remaining work, anyways, it was this sense of amazement. After this article is not related to what I'm doing in research, and I just came across it on Google. After now, this made me wonder if I was treading the right path. It felt ignorant at first. My research actually felt ignorant. I felt I didn't know what I was there for. And this is a natural process for many people. In fact, it's an important part of the process. I mean, one is giving up familiar shortcuts and methods, especially if you're coming from clinical practice or industry. And then, yeah, especially if you are like moving from clinical practice, for those of you in health education or healthcare, and you're moving to full time research. This makes the initial stages feel difficult, lonely, and painful. It's lonely because many people, even your supervisors, may not really understand or get what you're trying to do. For me, there was a mental shift when I started talking to industry people or people outside of research and education, and that is lay people who would later use or adopt the innovation that I was proposing to adapt, sorry. Their perceptions now gave me a different perspective about my work, and this was even made clearer when I joined a program about how to commercialize your research. And this took me, it's like going to business school, like going to like 6 months of business school, looking at social entrepreneurship and the commercialization aspect of research. I want to use this time to say shout out to the CIA team at the University of Auckland for helping out with this. In all of this, I found my why, the purpose of this research, the expected impact or the outcome this research could have on a nationwide or global scale. I'll go deeper into why I embarked on the PhD program itself in later episodes. But of course, with the nature of research, I have now been challenged to pursue this interesting study that will be conducted in 3 phases. I'm excited to see how this would um, impact practice, clinical practice. That's what I'm talking about, and improve conditions for the populations I'll be studying. My populations are studying diverse populations, but I'm excited to see what the impact will be in the nearest future. Now, because of all that I've done, talking to people, studying, and finding my purpose and answering my why, I'm driven by a personal motivation to learn and explore rather than external metrics like publications or reputation. Those of you in research, you understand. Because, yeah, I came in to the program with the desire to publish as many papers as possible, owing to the worry, again, I told you I'm a warrior, or the fear that I would not be able to secure an academic job without many publications. Let's see how that interest in academia or teaching sustains. The thing is, without purpose, research can feel meaningless in the face of genuine curiosity. So you need purpose in choosing your topic, in choosing your methods, in choosing your population, in choosing, in assessing the outcome. You need purpose. What is your purpose? Quickly, I remember one night when I was sitting with my kids watching a TV and the show. We're surrounded by school books. We're just coming back. Yeah, not too long ago from school and workplaces, surrounded by Lego bricks, picture books, and all those things. After a particularly exhausting day in the ruminating about my work, my daughter, who was about 6 at the time, yeah, just a few months ago, anyways, asked, "Mommy, what did you do at work today?" Because she always asks that question. She's a very thoughtful baby. And I started to explain my research on pain management in a very abstract way, very academic way. And she just looked at me with this innocent confusion and said, "Mommy, does this help people?" And in that moment, the elegance of my research became secondary to the simple, like to the simple, profound question of its purpose. What was the purpose? Would it help people? What was it? It was a quick gut check. And it's a question that I think we all need to ask ourselves, regardless of our field, whether you're in healthcare, you are in business, finance, or anywhere. Today, I want to talk about something that felt like the North Star of my entire career transition. Not just this PhD, not just this particular research. It's not about the salary, which will be very interesting, nor the title or the company or the school or the country I'm studying. It's about purpose. For so long, I felt like my work, my research was happening in, too clean academic bubble. Everything was from my master's now to PhD. Everything was just, happening. I could spend years, thinking and trying to publish an article in a prestigious journal, and then feeling this fleeting sense of accomplishment, like, yeah, I've written this, I've done it, and then nothing. It was like shouting into an echo chamber. I couldn't feel anything. Yeah, after that paper was published, after I had announced it on LinkedIn, after I had shared it with colleagues, after I had put it on my CV, there was nothing more. I wanted more, right? I wanted purpose, and that's why when I began this study, I wanted more out of it, what it will provide in the future. Many of us in academia are trained to be prized intellectual curiosity above all else. We are taught to follow the question no matter where it leads. So if anywhere it leads anyway, just follow the question. The pursuit of knowledge for its own sake is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong, but for a lot of us, especially as we start families or as we build relationships or as our values begin to shift, we begin to feel like a gnawing disconnect from who we are to what we are presently. And the gap between the theoretical and tangible become so obvious, it becomes a chasm. And I had a colleague once, an incredible physicist, Nigerian guy, who was working in a highly abstract and theoretical project. He told me one day, he said, Rhoda, I'm working on something that might not have a real world application for 100 years. And I just remember thinking, 100 years? But I need to know that my work has meaning now. He was worried. You can remember from the story I just shared a few minutes ago. That was exactly how I felt when I started my PhD. I provided the script, I provided the proposal, but when I began, it became too abstract, it became too sterile. At those times when, during supervision meeting, I'll be asked, what impact or overall outcome I was hoping to gain. I'll just provide answers based off academic or educational standards. No real world meaning. This was troubling to me. It was acceptable in some contexts, in some meetings, it was acceptable. But it was troubling to me because I couldn't answer that question. This isn't due to devalue pure research. I'm not devaluing pure research, not at all. It's to validate the instinct that many women have to pivot towards work that has more immediate, direct impact. Does your work have that impact? This is the first thought I want to offer you today. Your desire for purpose-driven work is not a weakness. It's a profound strength, personal strength. It is inborn of a perspective shaped by the very real immediate needs of your family, of your workplace, of your community, what you hope to achieve or what you hope to give back in the future. Think about the lessons we learn from motherhood. Every day is a lesson in fact, you know. You see the immediate results of your actions, your patience, your love, your kindness. You see your child's confidence grow. You see them learn. You see the direct impact of your efforts. The desire for direct, measurable impact doesn't just disappear when we walk into the office or the lab or your workspace. And that reminds me of an African proverb that says, now waiting you give pikin, you go see for him body. Meaning the outcomes of the care you give to a child or the lesson you teach a child will be seen as it develops. So it is what you put into a child that you see as it grows. Not to digress, but this is applicable to research or even clinical practice or whatever field you are in right now. So yeah, what is our purpose? What is that thing we want to see at the end of where we are now? We call it short-term goal or long-term goal. Even if you're in business, you're just starting out in business. What is that thing you want to see? What is that impact you want to see your business make in the next 5, 10, 30 years? So how do we close this gap? How do we find a way to align formidable research skills with focus that truly resonates? So these questions are the questions you ask yourself when you begin to reflect on your journey. Well, I use few. I use few pointers, and I'm going to share them now. Number one, the so what exercise. So what? This is something I started doing whenever I pick up an article. Immediately I pick up an article, I say, so what? What is this? And all that. It has become even more powerful for me personally, not just in research or even in family life. Take your most complex research paper or project and ask, so what? Keep asking that question until you get a human-centered answer. My research, for instance, now, say you are in data analysis or computer science, say, okay, my research on data compression, so what? So that large files can be sent faster. So what? In rural areas, doctors in rural areas can share x-rays and patient files quickly. Say you're looking at an innovation for diagnosis, say, okay, so that people can access life-saving diagnosis sooner. When you get that human outcome, that human-centered outcome, you found the focus. And that is why medicine is patient-centered. Medical practice as a whole is patient-centered. Number two, look for the untapped why. In academia, we are often given research questions or at least encouraged to develop one based on the subject area of your potential supervisors or your research team. In industry, you have the opportunity to find the problem. I'll give you a real world example from a friend's transition. Yeah, like it was something I had shared recently, or even a few minutes ago. His PhD was in material science, a very niche field. He thought his only option was to go into lab, of course. However, he couldn't get placement in any of the labs that he had applied. But soon, he realized that the core skill of his research was systematic problem solving and data analysis. As he kept looking for jobs and placement, the startup pharmaceutical company with the logistics department was struggling with their supply chain efficiency. He applied and got the role. They gave him supervisory role. This guy went to them not with a solution, but with a question. The question was, what is your biggest daily frustration? The answer led to a massive, big nationwide data project that had a clear, direct, and immediate purpose. He wasn't just solving a problem, he was solving their problem, the company's problem, the people's problem, the consumer's problem. And that made all the difference. The next one I use, or I just started using, is a 2-minute explanation. Well, I like to call it 3-minute rule. I added the extra 1 minute because I don't think I can explain my research in 2 minutes yet. But then if you can't explain your work to your father or your mother or maybe more accurately to a 6-year-old in 3 minutes, you've lost sight of your purpose. You don't know what it is. This isn't about dumbing down your work. It's about forcing yourself to find the essence of its value. What is the essence of your value? You can say that in 3 minutes. This is a practice I'm learning to use today. And before any big meeting or conferences or presentations, I practice explaining the project to myself first, using the mirror, of course. I love mirrors. Then my kids. Now, if my kids get it, then I know I've found a clear, purposeful message. I used it recently. in a student conference in my faculty. It was simple. My poster was there. If you met me anywhere, even outside of the poster event, and ask me, I could tell you about my research in 3 minutes. Ultimately, finding your purpose in academic or academia or industry research isn't about abandoning your past skills. It's not about abandoning what you've done in the past. It's about channeling that incredible intellectual power into something that feels deeply meaningful. Whether you are done with PhD or still processing it. The degree doesn't just teach you how to do research. It teaches you how to think, how to question, how to persevere, how to stay there until you come up with the solution to that problem at that time. I've come to believe that being a mom gives us a unique lens for this. We are constantly thinking about the future, about legacy, about the kind of world that we want our children to inherit. As mothers, our purpose becomes intertwined with the purpose of our children, with our children's development. The work we choose to do is part of the story we are telling them. Because they look at us and say, okay, yeah, mom is doing this, or mom did that, or mom is going to be achieving this, or mom's research is going to be achieving this impact in the next few years. They look up to us. This journey is a testament to the fact that you don't have to be one thing. You can be a brilliant scientist, an intentional mom, and a purpose-driven professional. The key is to stop trying to separate your lives and start embracing the power of your beautiful, messy life and everything that aligns with all this. So I know we've spoken a lot, it's a lot of information in a short time. I just wanted to drop this video today because I didn't want to miss today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this episode gives you a moment to reflect on your own purpose, either in or outside of research. If you're a woman contemplating the leap, or if you already made it and are still trying to find your footing, I would love to hear your story. I would love to see you share. Kindly connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can even leave your comments below on YouTube in the comment section. You can find me on LinkedIn, Rhoda Winners, and tell me what is that so what? That's why behind your work. What is your purpose behind your work, behind what you're doing? You can also leave a review in the comment section and let me know what topics you'd like me to cover in the future. It doesn't have to be about women. I just dedicated today to women because sometimes we just need to stop everything we're doing and appreciate women. Your feedback is what gives this podcast to others. Thank you in advance. I hope you subscribe and turn on your notifications for the next episode, which will discuss cultural competence in research, cultural competence where you are, cultural competence in your place of work. Until next time, remember the words of your kids, your family, and friends, the lessons of your degree, and the power of your purpose. Enjoy.